Donald Trump just dropped some bad news for CBS. Yeah, that man said, hey, I'm going to sue y'all. And he's been winning a lot lately. So you determine what's going to happen with that. But first, a Ukrainian immigrant's son murdered his parents and applied to assassinate Donald Trump and escaped to Ukraine. I'm not just saying this to say it. Seriously.
A double homicide investigation in Waukesha takes a turn. The FBI is now linking the teen accused of killing his parents to an assassination plot targeting President Donald Trump.
It's awful, to be honest, because it's like kids and teenagers are exposed to so many things these days as it is.
Some people who live in the area are alarmed by these new details unsealed Friday in federal court. The documents detail a conspiracy by 17-year-old Nikita Cashapp tied to a neo-Nazi group. Tahalil Mohadeen spoke with people who live in Waukesha County about this twist in the case.
Already facing charges for killing his mother and stepfather, 17-year-old Nikita Cashapp from Waukesha became the subject of an extensive FBI search warrant.
It was alarming. I mean, it's not really something that you would think happening in such a small town like Waukesha.
Investigators discovered the teen's self-described manifesto that included making bombs, terrorist attacks, and plans for the assassination of President Donald Trump.
Just mind-blowing.
While investigating Cashapp in the killings of Tatiana Cashapp and Donald Mayer, authorities found material linking the teen to the Order of the Nine Angels, a network of neo-Nazis which advocates for violence and the destruction of modern civilizations. Cashapp calling for Trump's assassination. He wrote, "By getting rid of the president, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos. Not only that, it will further bring into the public the idea that assassinations and accelerating the collapse are possible." The warrant covered a number of Cashapp's electronic devices, including his laptop and phone.
That's crazy to me because growing up, we didn't even really have the internet. If I ever have kids, there's definitely going to be parental controls on the internet, that's for sure.
The teen engaged with white nationalists online about his plans, writing, "My parents don't know, LOL. They would take my phone away if they did." Investigators believe Cashapp may have killed his parents to get the, quote, financial means and autonomy needed to pursue his plan.
It is so true, and the fact that you just never know, what's kind of going on around you.
Investigators say Cashapp made payments for an attack drone and planned to flee to Ukraine following his proposed assassination. In Waukesha, Tahlil Mohadeen, TMJ4 News.
Wow. You see how the rhetoric from the mainstream media continues to intrude the minds of these impressionable, people. And it brainwashes them to the point to where they want to assassinate the president to ultimately reach their goal, which is get the country in a direction of failing again. This is sickening. First of all, let's talk about the core of it. You killed your parents. That's another level of Delulu right there. Somebody added, in Europe, mainstream media doesn't show this news. I live in Portugal, and no news network showed this. Somebody says, that seems inefficient. Somebody says, send the little rat to Ukraine. Democrats are just as sick as this kid, in my opinion, and they have a video right here below.
A double homicide.
I don't know. Like I say, the rhetoric from the mainstream media is all this fueling these attacks and fueling this hatred and encouraging people, which, by the way, like TikTok is giving people the platform to be able to openly say this all day without taking it down. But you bring up a fact. Anywho, let's talk about Agenda 47 so far. War on cartels. Doing a great job so far of that and eliminating as much abuse at the border with that. Close the border, end veteran homelessness, revolutionize higher education, 10 principles for great schools, lower costs of energy and electricity, energy independence, returning production of essential medicines back to the USA, death penalty for human traffickers, rescuing America's auto industry, rebuilding the military, taking on big pharma, fairing reciprocal trade, lower inflation, trying to end drug addiction, outlawing anchor babies, deregulation, drain a swap, negotiating ends to the war. Donald Trump has been pretty busy. However, it still gets looked over. You think I'm playing? So this unhinged Democrat says that the more she watches Trump, the more she wants to call her dying father just to tell him how much she hates him. Wow.
You know, it's so funny because, like, for a few weeks there, I was starting to feel bad about cutting my dad off, right? Like, oh, maybe I was being too harsh on MAGAs and, you know, my dad, and he's dying, and, you know, maybe I should be more loving and kind and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, the more and more I watch of Orange Man, the more I'm like, I just want to call my dad up again and tell him how much I fucking hate him. You know? I just want to call him up and tell him how big of a piece of shit he is and how fucking stupid he is for voting for MAGA and how I will never forgive him and he'll never be my father again and he can just go fucking kick rocks and eat a bag of fucking sand. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't care. So, it's crazy how quick I could be reminded of why they deserve to be hated, you know?
It's sad. As a father, a parent myself, it's just, I couldn't imagine my child resenting me for my political beliefs to the point of me on my deathbed and they're wishing they're basically happy. And I'm already, they're alluding to that I'm being dead to them already. She's going to seriously regret this one day. Seriously regret this one day. The Democrats have allowed people to get to a point to where they disassociate themselves from their loved ones, their great memories with their loved ones. Like, it's got to a point where people really are blinded with hatred. They're hypnotized with hatred, as a rapper Boosie used to say. They're literally hypnotized with hatred, which is nothing but TDS, obviously. But to the point that you would, I don't know, obviously, any other components and nothing like that, but you would literally just get rid of your dad just because he supports Trump, bro. That's weird. Somebody said, incredibly disturbing and hateful. To treat your family member like this says more about you than it will ever say about them. Gross. Borderline personality disorder. 2 symptoms are intense emotionally instability. Are intense. Emotional instability, fear of abandonment, impulsive behavior, unstable relationships, and chronic feelings of emptiness. Look, I'm a Gemini, okay? And my two sides is either some days I'm talkative, some days I'm not. That right there was like, she was a Gemini mixed with a Gemini mixed with a Gemini. Anywho, President Trump announces that he's suing CBS, 60 Minutes, and Paramount for billions. Yeah, I said it with a B. I heard that B. That B. You know what I mean? I thought y'all messing up the transients. Anywho, almost every week, Donald Trump writes, 60 Minutes, which is being sued for billions of dollars for the fraud they committed in the 2024 presidential election, with their interview of failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris, mentions the name Trump in a derogatory and defamatory way. But this weekend's broadcast tops them all. They did not one, but 2 major stories on Trump, having to do with Ukraine, which I say is a war that would never have happened if the 2020 election had not been egged. I said egged, YouTube. In other words, if I were president and the other story was having to do with Greenland, casting our country, as led by me, falsely, inaccurately, and fraudulently. I am so honored to be suing 60 Minutes, CBS, Fake News, and Paramount over their fraudulent beyond recognition reporting. They did everything possible to illegally elect Kamala, including completely and corruptly changing major answers to interview questions, but it just didn't work for them. They are not a news show, but a dishonest political operative simply disguised as news and must be responsible for what they have done and are doing. Amen to that. I can get behind this for sure. They said, they should lose their license. Hopefully, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, as headed by its highly respected chairman, Brandon Carr, will impose the maximum fines and punishment, which is substantial, for their unlawful and illegal behavior. CBS is out of control at levels never seen before, and they should pay a big price for this. Make America great again. You got to throw the gavel down on that joint. Woo, my God. Yes. Amen to that. We are finally seeing, we're in a era where we are seeing the mainstream media being held accountable, not just with moments like this, but even it's hitting them with the ratings tanking. People are coming to see people like myself a little more, the black conservatives, the Candace Owenses of the world, things of that nature. So that medium is really diluted right now. And a lot of people are able to realize the lies that they are spewing out there. Of course, they still have they're maintaining an audience that agrees with the spew, but you see they're getting rid of the likes of Read Out, when after the election her ratings tanked by over 50%. But here's the interview that Trump has filed suit on CBS and Paramount on for trying to manipulate outcomes of the election. CBS didn't like it. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna have to speed it up. You know what I mean? I know y'all not gonna like how this sounds. It's gonna be real chipmunky, but I gotta speed it up just because, if you know, you know. I'll go ahead and play it real quick.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems
I ain't got no coffee to sip. Now, this isn't CBS or Paramount, but CNN, Benny Johnson posted this, where this woman claims that violence in this country today is mostly from right-wing extremism.
America was found, make America great again to when they came and massacred the indigenous people, millions and millions of indigenous people.
But by supporting the murder of a healthcare CEO, doesn't that make your side as culpable?
I don't hear them condemning the Proud Boys, who he said stand by, whatever it is.
Why can't you just...
Once they start condemning them, then I will reassess. But until then, no, I'm not reassessing.
Yeah. About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is where I stop it, because obviously I don't want to show any violence, anything like that. But y'all see. You see. The violence that's happening in this country is mostly from right-wing extremism. Are you kidding me? Have y'all not been seeing the news? It's been these Democrats. Somebody says, do they even hear themselves? I said, do they watch the news? Wow. I meant to say, where do they watch their news from? Because, my bad, fumbled to play on that. Somebody said, didn't they just release a poll that revealed over 50% of Dems are okay with violence? I don't know what that poll is. In case anyone didn't know what propaganda looks like, this is the video. Y'all go check on somebody today. You could be saving their life. Thank y'all for the likes, comments, and shares, man. It's truly helpful to the channel.